And welcome, everybody. Another Monday. I hope you're all doing well. Here we are in March of 2026, and I don't know where the hell the year's gone already. We're already in March, but it's an election year, and it's an important election year. We're approaching the midterms, and there are a lot of disgruntled patriots out there right now, kind of losing faith in what's going on. And well, we haven't. There are a lot that have. And we could possibly be in a lot of danger of losing the traction that we've made over the past bunch of years. Now, we know we're watching a movie, and we know that a lot of this has already happened, and we're just watching the replay. But a lot of people don't understand that. So where do we go, and how do we approach things as we move toward those wonderful election periods? So to discuss that today, I have my very special guest, good friend, and somebody that you should be well acquainted with, the one and only Patriot Streetfighter, Scott McKay. How are you, Scotty?
I'm fantastic, but I'll get better. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing great. Always good to see you. Always good to talk to you.
Likewise.
So here we are, March 2026, rapidly approaching November 2026. You've got 36 states in the union that are electing new governors. You've got some polar opposites there, like California and Florida. So you've got some big races out there. Plus, you've got 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election. You got some that are retiring, and some that are just coming up for their times to be. There's still a lot of things going on. You still got, a lot of people complaining that they're not seeing things happening, which is a big part of the problem. People not understanding what this whole thing is all about. So why don't we start right there?
Well, you want me to comment on that?
Yeah.
I understand. I've seen this dynamic for 6 years now. I mean, look, we started reading the intelligence in October 28, 2017 was the opening salvo of this military intelligence operation to start seeding into these underground, obscure boards and channels this information to start a bit of a grass fire. Boy, did it start a grass fire, and it turned into a raging wildfire. And that was people questioning, what the heck is this information? Like, what is this? And so it was interesting in the evolution of that, things like learn to read our comms. Most important thing, learn to read our comms. That's their communication style. And that was something that there's things that happened throughout that operation that have stuck in my head, that I've tried to use it as a balancing act in terms of helping the audience understand that this is going to look unlike anything you've ever seen. It's going to look far different than you think. Most of us are trained to think in terms of the matrix apparatus, as it has, created this non-reality of a world we live in, this simulation. And so there's a bit of a balancing act of what we're in and how we get to see this in its real function and form as we move into the new earth, the new future. And I've seen people get the whole, and podcasters alike, along this 6-year track now, since I started podcasting. I started doing a radio show in 2020, and then out of necessity, after they stole the election, I started Patriot Streetfighter. But I've watched this, and I think to myself, you guys for so long were so, you were so committed to the plan, committed to the Q operation, committed to, look, if the Q operation wasn't real and legitimate, people that have marginal to high intelligence would have dropped off a long time ago. We're now in an evolution where even Bill Maher is saying, this Q thing that we made fun of and we laughed at, well, it turns out that they're right. We're the ones that are wrong. Look, these are bombs that are meant to, I think for various reasons, be deployed at a certain time to stabilize not the other side, but to stabilize the battlefield of digital soldiers. So people have asked me, Mark, over the last 6 years now. I spent time traveling the country multiple times, making hundreds of thousands of people face to face, and talking to tens of thousands face to face. And so many times people would ask me, do you think we're really going to win this? I'd be like, 100%. Really? Like, for sure? Okay, 1000%. Well, how do you know? How do you know we are? And the only answer I've ever given them is, I don't know how I know. I'm just telling you, as true as I'm standing here, 1,000,000%, we win this time. We're burning down the satanic realm and we are bringing back the Garden of Eden. That's all I can tell you, period. That's what my soul tells me. This is it. And I've been able to maintain that level of comfort the whole way through. Even when they stole the election, I said before, they stole it. On my radio show in the summertime 2020, I said, look, there are two things that are going to happen here in this election. You're going to see this. Trump's going to be winning in a massive landslide. All day, the media is going to be saying Biden's winning, Biden's winning. And I said, the second thing that happens is Trump will be stabbed in the back by Fox News before it's over. And sure, what happened? Exactly that. They knifed him in the liver on election day by calling Arizona way early, helped set in motion the steal. Well, those two things happen. Again, people were flipping out, and that's what caused me to launch the podcast. Just by accident, turn the camera on November 11th, 2020, and say, okay, folks, calm down. Let me explain what's happening here. This is a de facto military operation. Trump's whole presidency, this is the largest sting operation the world has ever known. That's what's happening here. So it went nuclear. It went like all over the world, probably 100 million views, in the next year or two. So that being said, I'm mystified how people have continued to lose faith along the way. Look, if this wasn't, you and I had this conversation, if this wasn't a legitimate battle of good versus evil, with good actually setting the stage to take out evil, why? Trump's a black hat, he's working for them. Look, as I said before, this whole world was over. This country was. Obama took us over the cliff. That's 8 years, the first half of their 16-year plan to destroy America. The second half was Hillary comes in to bat cleanup. We were over the cliff. It was already done. All she had to do was, again, kick off on the heels of the Uranium One scandal of the 3 planes that they flew after they skimmed the top off of the uranium they sold to Vladimir Putin through Hillary's State Department, skimmed off the top of it, flew 3 planes, one to Iran, one to Syria, and one to North Korea, where the clowns in America were building a nuclear bomb with these stockpiles. And then they were going to get one inside the U.S. during Hillary's initial term, detonate one in one of our cities. And then, of course, our guys would trace the energy signature of that uranium back to the Putin stockpile that we sold him, claim he did it, and Hillary would launch a thermonuclear retaliatory attack on Moscow, kick off a global thermonuclear war, wipe out billions of people. That was their plan. And then 2025 was when they would hit us with COVID to completely finish us off. Well, now we were there. So you're going to tell me that the black hats said, let's take our man Trump. We've got the Ferrari right at the mouth of the tunnel going through the Rockies in Colorado. But we're going to get up. We're going to get out of the car. We're going to jump on a donkey and we're going to go over the Rocky Mountains on the back of a donkey to get to the other side of the mountain. How much sense does that make? Zero. Why would you throw Trump in to disrupt everything, show the whole world, kick off take down pedophiles, trafficking rings worldwide, do massive damage, expose this criminal power structure so they can really kick our asses? It doesn't make any sense. So that being said, if Trump were working for the bad guys, this would have been over by now. How can anybody believe that? But some people, they revert back to Trump's working for the black hats or Trump's whatever, or he's not doing things the way we think. Listen, I've given Trump a lot of latitude. How can you not? I mean, everything that we've seen, yeah, things as Trump does, it doesn't please me too. But I also realize I don't have the information. I got to realize they have got to walk this thing through carefully enough to wake the people up, but not detonate massive bombs. Some Samson option out of Israel, they've got nukes all over the world. They make us do it. They want us to do. Our politicians are captured. Either you, just like Department of Homeland Security, you give us the Department of Homeland Security, or we're going to detonate one of our Samson option nukes in one of your cities. And they've been bending us over the rails for generations. We're now finding this out. We're learning this. It's even in the Kennedy files. Israel was involved in the assassination of Kennedy. This is coming everywhere. And for the Christian right, the devout Christians who continue to, repeat the same BS. Look, I got a lot of Jewish friends. An Ashkenazi Jew saved my life. I'm here because of this man. When I was pulled out of the grave, this man took me in. He's just one of the dearest men of my life. So this isn't about any anti-Semitism. It's not about the bullshit they hit you with when you call them out. But the simple fact is, that is there, and it's part of what we have to deal with. Now, do you think Trump doesn't know that? Do you think that they don't have to dance around that stuff? Because they told us in the intelligence, we will not make a move until we can guarantee the safety of the American people. So to fight the battle, they are. I'm wondering how they hasn't been serious destruction in America, serious destruction up to this point yet. But guess what? They've been planning this for decades, many decades. And they've had a couple attempts in the past to move on this satanic cabal. They failed. Great destruction happened in different ways. But this time they made sure that there is no way out. And you just can't live through what we've seen for the last 6 years. Look, and I'll finish with this because my answers are always way too long. The simple fact is this, is my belief is that, as we saw in the intelligence, the world will be united. I only know of really two things that could unite this massively polarized, fractured world. Only two. Number one is the reemergence of JFK Jr. to the battlefield that he has commanded to some degree for a very long time, with the help of the military, and let the world know this is why I had to do what I did, to go behind the scenes to start working with these guys to bring this thing down. That as I said many times, the world would fall to its knees all over the planet in tears, people dancing in the streets with joy, not just that he's back and they never left, but why he's here. That being one of those things that unites the world, or the discovery of the depravity of the satanic murder machine, the consumption of babies, the raping. I mean, I just want to, this is harsh, but you got to hear it, folks, of one girl, of how they talk about one girl, and in the files, there's a 9-year-old, of course, they've got her pregnant, right? And she gives birth to her baby at 9, and they keep the umbilical cord attached to mom, or the placenta's probably still attached. They leave it attached, and then they go to work on this baby. 370 men brutally raped a new infant, and then gutted it, ate its intestines, all this horrible shit. Now, do you honestly think that the world could survive that? Could survive that knowledge that this is what they do? And we're talking the highest level politicians in DC involved in this horrible shit. Governors around the country, state houses loaded with these pedophile killers. They've had a long time to continue to facilitate theirs into positions of power to take us into the pit of hell. Now, how do you get all of that dismantled as quietly and calmly, not to have the United States explode into civil war, into people flipping out? It's a slow drip, 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 drip of information, drip, 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 flood. That flood hasn't hit yet. But now you even have Democrats by the hand. Look, the hand Trump played with the files. Where's the Epstein files? Where's the list? X, Y, Z. He gets elected. And then he finally says, there's no list, or we just need to move on from the Epstein files. MAGA explodes. You traitor, you effed us. Like, what did he do? Blocked out the noise, kept going to do what? To get MAGA screaming, right? To get the Democrats and the lunatic left screaming. He's covering this up because he's in the files. He doesn't want to do scream, give us the files, you pedophile, Trump, you blah, blah. He lets that build up until they say, okay, they release out of nowhere 3 million pages. And all the left lunatics and Democrats, whoever that are unaware, all the ones that are pedophiles in Congress and government, they're aware. So the Democrat voters, the media, they're going into the rabbit hole to dig, where's Trump? Where's Trump? Oh my God, look at this. And it has to do with their people. Where's Trump? Forget that. They keep going. Now there's an avalanche of discovery, the horrible shit happening from the political class. You're like, Trump's not in here anywhere. There's nothing bad about him except he's an FBI informant. That is the way you unite the world. That's the way you build a fever pitch. So Democrats, Republicans, MAGA, and Trump haters are out there in the streets screaming for heads. You better go kill these bastards. How come nobody's being arrested? How come they're not being hung? And get both sides of us going after this administration with absolute vitriol. Listen, you MFer, you either kill these bastards or we're going to get our weapons and pitchforks and we're going to hunt them down and we're going to slaughter them ourselves. That's what they need to say, okay, and then unleash hell on hell with nobody getting in the way.
See, it's funny that you bring that up because there are three points I want to address in there. This one's a little bit off topic, but you brought it up, and it's something that I can discuss because it's right in me as a person. When I first saw Janet Osbard's Fall of the Cabal, and it went through everything, it really enlightened me in regard to what's out there, what everything was. I've never been a religious person, a very spiritual person, but not really a religious person because I've always felt that religion is the great divide and has done nothing but try to control us.
100%.
And when I sit and I look at what's going on, the idea of saving Israel for last, and try to get out to the people, because if 46 years in the media taught me anything, it's the fact that words can hurt. And people don't understand the manner or the danger that certain words can create. We are all, every person, no matter what your belief happens to be, no matter what your belief system happens to be, we're all victims of this and victims of our particular controllers, our governments. And when they save Israel for last, they're not talking about the Jewish people. They are talking about the Israeli government. They are talking about the United States government. They are talking about the Russian government, the Korean, well, it's ad nauseum. And one of the biggest problems, and I've stated it on the air a number of times, is to go and kind of police your own and wake up your own. And I've gone out of my way to try and get Ashkenazi Jews, regular Jews, who don't understand, even what a Zionist is, which is a key form. Everybody
Are you Jewish, Mark?
Yes.
This is why I had to ask you that question. I want people to understand this and continue on the point. I'll bring mine up, but I'm so glad you're telling the audience this because you operate on the side of humanity, not the false matrix, not the program they put into us.
No, I mean, this is what's important. Like I said about policing your own. Look, did the Holocaust happen? Yes. Do we know whether or not 6 million Jews were killed? That's what we've been told. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. But there were close to that many Christians that were killed, Muslims that were killed, homosexuals, the infirm, the elderly, anybody they can get their hands on that didn't fit their criteria were killed. So it wasn't just the word Holocaust has been related to the Jews, and it's not just the Jews. And we just went through probably the biggest Holocaust that's ever existed, which was the COVID BS.
That, yeah, COVID BS, yeah.
So when I look at most other, especially American Jews, who don't get it and who don't understand that Zionism is not your love of Israel. It's a whole other realm, and you're not understanding it. And that what we have thought for generations, because we get taught by our parents, we get taught by our clerics, et cetera, you don't understand that we as Jews are not the Jews of old. We are no longer, nor have most of us been, the children of Abraham. That ship sailed a long time ago. And we're fostering a belief that doesn't really exist. And for Christians, you follow the teachings of Christ. You're following the teachings of basically a Reformed Jew. Christ was Jewish, or a child of Abraham, put it that way, which is following the Father. And people of all faiths, I feel, need to get away from this realm of listening to your priest, listening to your rabbi, listening to your imam. They're doing what they're doing because they're controlling their flock. They're controlling their income stream. They're maintaining whatever comes in by keeping you coming in. And the way that the thing that turned me off completely to organized religion, I've told this story before, but on the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, when you're not even supposed to have lint in your pocket, and you go to synagogue and they're making their appeal for money, how much more sacrilegious could you possibly get than that? So people, we have to start policing our own and stop with the adjectives. Stop with, I'm a Jewish American, I'm a Christian American, I'm a Black American, no, you're an American first. And you're a human being first. And if you're a spiritual person, you believe in God, and you go forward with that. You believe in the Father, and that's what you're dedicating your life to. And that's why we do the things that we do for the children, et cetera, et cetera. So when you look at this situation, and that's why, because you brought it up, that's why I brought it up. I am in the unique position, having been raised Jewish, that I can say these things, and I know that I have X amount of Jewish viewers in the audience. Nobody's going to be able to call me an anti-Semite. First of all, I don't believe that there's such a thing as an anti-Semite, because we all descend from the 12 tribes of Israel, and we're all Semites. So you have to hate everybody. So when it comes to that, now that I open that discussion, what's your feeling on that? And people policing themselves so that we can move forward and progress with this as a human race.
Well, I think it's a great question, Mark. And the fact of the matter is, I grew up going to Sunday school. Like any other kid, we hated going to church. My parents didn't make us go to church, but Sunday school we had to go. And they made it as fun as they could. We still didn't like it. And then I became committed as a 14-year-old. I became a born again Christian, and of course, for the next 20 years, read the Bible probably 300 days a year, tried 15 minutes a day before I go to bed, and learning what I was learning, always waiting for the big whammy to hit me, but it never did. It never could. And I won't get into the depths of my experience that led me back home, but when I just realized one day in 1999, I'm like, this is bullshit. I have nothing but guilt, fear, weight on top of me, trying to be a good man, because if I don't, God's going to punish me, make life. And I just one day looked up on this freeway, on a 101 freeway coming over Laurel Canyon, jumped on the 101, and I exploded into tears. And I'm like looking up, and I'm like, I'm just F you. I'm done. Go ahead and drop the anvil on me. I'm not living like this anymore. And that freed me. That was a traumatic experience, but it freed me. And quantum physics became my new Bible, because I'd already been studying epistemology, metaphysics, different types of philosophies, religions, trying to find what's the blueprint, make sense of why I'm here. What's the whole purpose for this? And quantum physics was the next realm of study. And it finally gave me a blueprint to understand there is a divine realm. It's a perfect working order. No, I don't have this guy sitting on a cloud who gives me free will, but micromanaging everything I do. Hey, turn left right here at the stop sign. You know, God told me this, God told me that. God said, I'm like, man, I must be out in the middle of no man's land. God's never said anything to me. Like, am I not worth? But I hear people talking like that, and that's okay. But how do you, there's so many dichotomies that people don't challenge him. Like, I have free will, but God controls everything I do. I'm like, that is the insanity that makes us go off the rails here, because we can't absorb that. So anyways, I started to see the bullet holes in religion. It's like you said, case in point, mid-90s. I used to give a pretty good sized check for me at that time with the money I had every month to the United Methodist Church. Went to church there when I was a kid growing up because I felt I was doing good. Then we have the partial birth abortion issue come up in the 90s. The House Republicans and the Senate Republicans banned partial birth abortion, which is delivering a baby breech, and the only thing left in the birth canal is the head. Don't pull it out because it can endanger the life of the mother. Really? Shoulders and hips are out. So let's incise the skull here, shove a tube up into the brains, suck the brains out, collapse the skull, pull the baby out. And that's for the life, the health of the mother. Any person on earth that says that's a-okay is absolutely a sadistic person or insane. And so Clinton vetoes that ban on partial birth abortion, making it lawful, legal. And the United Methodist Church publicly supported President Clinton's decision. And I was like, what? What is going on? That's the last time I ever put a penny into the coffer of the United Methodist Church. When I'd go with my mother on Christmas and Easter and holidays, she always loved me and my four sisters, all five of us to go. That tray comes around, like, you know, I'm not giving a penny. You want me to put something in there, I'll take one of your dollars, but never mind. And I've held that line. That's supposed to be the church. That's just the opening salvo of what I then came to realize. This is all bullshit. All of it. Like, even Christ's message has been watered down and distorted and redirected in so many ways. How do I know that? It's really simple. Get slapped across the face, just turn the other cheek. Forgive everybody. Give 10% of your tithings to the church or whatever. Now, wait a minute. Do you charge your kids from their playpen to give you money to raise them? Right? But yet our Creator's doing that to us. Turn the other cheek. Be a sheep. Was Christ a sheep? Christ was a fucking lion. He went right after the most powerful order there was. That's the religious order, and was going telling the world, don't listen to them. They're the synagogue of Satan. They claim to be Jews, but they're not. They're the synagogue of Satan. And going on walkabouts, and bringing his flock with him. He went into the temple and he beat some asses, smashed their gambling tables and threw them out. Is that being a sheep? That's being a lion. I'm sorry. My brain got to the point where I just said, cut the bullshit. Cut the bullshit. Now we got preachers all over the nation telling their flock, take the kill shot. Be responsible. Take that vaccine. We now know it's a murder weapon. And same thing, Pastor Jeffries, United First Baptist Church, downtown Dallas, most amazing place to go to. Holidays, Christmas, huge, ornamental, incredible. I'm done. I will not listen to any of these people ever. So this is the thing. The whole idea, and I said this from many major big church stages around the country, all for a couple of years on the Reawaken America tour. Religion is the single worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. It stripped away spirituality, our connection to our creator, to source. And now again, you think our creator is going to create, let's just say, the three majors we always think of: Islam, Judaism, Christianity. Yes, you got Buddhism, Hinduism, all that. But there's 26,000 sects of religions now on the planet offshooting from each other. Now, that's nothing but mass confusion. Do you think, would you do that to your kids? Would you do that psychological insanity on your children, picking which, none of it makes sense. It's bullshit. In fact, where it really occurred to me was I read Gordon Duff's research on Israel, the Jewish people. Now, I just read it, studied it, is his research. Now, true or not, who knows? At the end of the day, who freaking cares? But he said of the people that claim to be Jewish, only 3% of them, only 3%, even have the ancient Hebrew DNA. On the Palestinian side, 80% of the Palestinians have the ancient Hebrew DNA, which means what? Who are the real Semites and anti-Semites? Remember, the Satanists invert everything. And it comes down to the Christians. They're God's chosen people and, all that. The Christians are fighting harder for that nonsense than anybody. Okay, so this nation is slaughtering the Gazans, genocide. They've got them in the world's largest concentration camp on earth. And the Christians are, that's okay, they're animals. I used to say that. I was sitting in a home around 2004. The editor of the Jerusalem Post was traveling the country. A lot of my clients in Los Angeles were Jewish, pretty well-to-do people, wonderful people. I was invited among 40 other Jewish people to be there at my friend's home when the Jerusalem Post editor came in to speak to everybody. I'm the only goy in the whole place. And I'm listening for an hour, and then people start asking questions, raising their hand, I just listened for a while. Finally, I raised my hand. And I said, my question is based on whatever. And I talked about the phenomena of the kamikazes, the World War II, etc. And it's a 5-minute question, but I'm laying groundwork right up until I said, when I got to this point on the Palestinians and all the, bus bombings and all that, I turned and looked at everybody. I said, what don't you Jews understand? You need to razor wire these people in where they live and keep them there. Because if you keep letting them come in, they're going to kill everybody. That's how I used to think. We didn't know that the Rothschild clan came in, set it up, the Balfour Accords, takes this land where look at the maps 70 years ago. Palestine. It's on all the maps. Palestine. Palestinians. All of a sudden, we allow these people to come to this land. Palestinians welcome them in. Before you know it, they're killing them. They're running them out of their home. They're taking their homes. You're out. Like, what? And that's been going on for 70 years. And that's okay. And Christians are saying, yeah, but somebody can come in and slaughter your kids or kick you out of your house. That's okay. I'm sorry. In the name of religion, I'm sorry. Religion can get down the effing toilet. I'll watch it circle the drain and keep on flushing, because these are lies. These are lies. And I think what really took Patriot Streetfighter into the stratosphere, prior to even launching that, I was doing radio shows on the Khazarian Mafia. These people aren't Jewish. They're Khazarian, who hide behind the religion of Judaism, turn it into a religion of Satanism, because they twisted and distorted. For 1,400 years, they've been doing this. They've infiltrated all power. They bred or killed their way into the royal families. These people aren't Jewish. In fact, you look at the British Crown. They're not even British. They're German, right? All this infiltration and smoke screening and putting their people in positions of power to do what? Murder and kill kids, like they've all been doing forever. So at some point, do you ever stop? I've been called anti-Semite. I mean, Rachel Maddow, Alan Dershowitz hit me. Alan Dershowitz threatened Eric Trump. Don't let him come to Trump Doral and speak at that Reawaken America tour event, or else. So I got axed. Patriot Streetfighter was the biggest ticket draw to that for 2 years. I get removed because Dershowitz listens to Rachel Maddow call me an anti-Semite, horrible Nazi. Because I said, look, Hitler was fighting the same people back then that we're fighting today. The Rothschild central bankers. So it now means that I'm anti-Semitic because I'm like, Hitler was right. Why did JFK Sr. say the world is going to see Adolf Hitler in a very different light in time, right? Why did JFK say that? It makes me go, what is going on here? Then you start to unravel what we've unraveled. So at the end of the day, nobody's been more bullshitted than the Jewish people in the world. Nobody's been more oppressed than the Jewish people, not by people like us, but by them. They jab, kill shotted every last Israeli in that country. They're brutalizing those people, right? So you can argue this all day that my religion's right, your religion's right. And I'm just like, folks, listen. Our Creator is divinely perfect. All this nonsense is not of our Creator. It's of these killers. It's of this machine that you all know the devil controls the planet. The Bible told us that, our Bible, which is wholly incomplete too. 777 books stripped out down to 66 books. Stop the nonsense, folks. Start using your brain here. The everybody on the planet's oppressed. All of us. We need to start looking at the problem, the power structure that runs all governments all around the world. All these people in power. They know what I know, but they do nothing about it. They're the enemy. We need to unite, and we can end all this because we outnumber them by the billions. The only thing that matters is your fellow man. That's it. So that's kind of how I see the whole picture. It took me decades to get to this conclusion, but people can argue with me, debate me. That's okay. But when you just come to this conversation in the last 5 or 6 years because of QOP or because of Trump, you're 30 years behind your study curve because we've been at this a very long time. Thanks for.
You also brought up a very, very key phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever anybody refers to the Jewish people, they refer to them as the chosen people. Mm-hmm. We were all brought up, no matter what religion you are. I believe it's in Genesis. And God created man in his own image. Do you think somebody born, for argument's sake, in Somalia or this or that or the other, isn't God's chosen child?
I'm so happy you're saying this, my friend. I've been saying this when I started calling bullshit on that whole idea, God's chosen people. To hear a Jewish man say that, do you see what's happening, folks, here? We are uniting. This is called uniting. We are sick of the bullshit. Look at the results of the world. Do you think God took this planet, made it a planet of scarcity? Would you do that to your kids? Throw one toy in a playpen of 3 kids, fight it out? Come on. Look at all of this from that point of view. And you'll start to say, Scott and Mark are right. This really doesn't make sense. And the destruction that this thinking has caused us, where why wouldn't the Khazarians make it so let's make the Jewish people believe they're God's chosen ones and they can get away with anything. And we're going to, for whatever reason, that's a perfect cover for them to hide behind. And yeah, the Jewish people feeling that way, carrying themselves that way. And I have a lot of Jewish friends. They're beautiful, wonderful people. They don't think this way, right? They don't think this way. It is the radicals that think this way. And it is the Khazarians who are not Jewish. They're not Hebrew. They are the synagogue of Satan. They make that an effective weapon to get away with it. And we got the Christians that are fighting for the same satanic realm by restating that over and over. You know what? I just say this all the time, Mark. If I'm wrong, why is the world burning in hell right now? You say, well, I have a pretty good life. Good for you. I would never even utter those words because what you're saying is you don't give a shit about these millions of babies being cut open after they're born and stuck in a hull of a carcass inside a carcass. The horrible shit they're doing. And you're just saying, well, I'm good. I'm okay. Really? What about your fellow man? We will call, I don't, the place called heaven up in the sky and hell down below where my daddy throws me into a lake of fire to burn forever because I don't know any better. Sorry. All that stuff has gotten washed out of my soul because my Creator helped me cleanse it. And I feel comfortable saying this, heaven or hell, isn't another foreign place. It's right where you stand. You will create your heaven or you'll create your hell. You decide in this lifetime.
And that's really what it boils down to, because a lot of people don't understand I said it before and you stated the same thing. Religion is the great divide because it's a control mechanism.
Slavery. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it is. They feed you the phrase that we used to use in the business. They treat us like mushrooms. They feed us BS and keep us in the dark. And that's really what it boils down to. It's the control mechanism to keep them in business.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same thing that has dragged on in our political system. If you listen to most politicians and they talk about, just here in the United States, never mind globally, and this is a global initiative, but you look at what they do here and they talk about, overcrowding and climate control and all this stuff. If you drive through this country and you see the amount of land that is out there, and then you look at how many people are in this country, and where is the overcrowding? The overcrowding's in the cities. Why? Because that's where you make the money. So people flock to the cities because, look, you got to support your family. That's where you're going to make the money. But people have gotten so far afield of what's important. And look, I spent 46 years in the mainstream media in New York City. If I think about it now, 2020 hindsight, I've gotten the hell out of New York so fast and changed what I did for a living. I would have figured it out and supported my family. It could have been done.
Mm-hmm.
But as one of my old bosses used to say, you create your own golden handcuffs. And you sit and you become the slave of the system and you do what you have to do. That doesn't make it right. According to the Nuremberg trials, that's no excuse. So there are a whole bunch of things that we, the people, these things weren't done to us. We have allowed them to do it to us.
Yes, we did.
And if we're going to stop this, we have to disallow it.
Mm-hmm.
I've said from the get-go since I started doing this, if this is going to have legs, we have to change human nature. We have to change the way that people think about their fellow man. We have to change the way that people think about our governmental systems and especially about the main controller, the mainstream media, because that's the number one tool in the cabal's pocket is the mainstream media. Otherwise, how do you get all that information out to masses of people? So we're in a bad situation that we need to take control back on. And so, getting back to the main topic as we get into the upcoming midterm elections, people got to start thinking very, very seriously about how they're going to do this and where they're going to vote, because you may have lost faith in the plan. You may have lost faith in the direction things are going in. But what I try to remind people of all the time is you're watching the replay of the movie. All this has happened already. Sit back. It's a military operation. Military operates on a need-to-know basis, and we don't need to know. So you can sit and try and figure out when it's happening. You can sit and try and figure out how it's going to happen, but we don't know. And so one, again, offside topic that I wanted to get back into was something I threw out the other day and caught a bag of crap for, but I'm going to go back into it again. One of the things that the president said back when this whole thing started is the people that you think are good may turn out to be bad, and the people you think are bad may turn out to be good. Now, what you brought up before in regard to the Epstein files, He did a perfect, come on, keep asking. Be careful what you ask for. You just may get it.
Mhm.
Boom, here it is. That kind of shut them up. But I offered out the possibility, what if our opinion of who and what Jeffrey Epstein was incorrect? That he was yet another white hat asset set in to nail all these SOBs.
You know what? That's something that just kind of emerged in the last week or 2 weeks. That possibility, somebody brought that up, and I said to myself, and that would be a bitter pill to swallow. But I'll say this: I've used this example many times on my shows, that to help people understand, it's not always what it seems when they see things. When that FBI agent infiltrated the Mongols motorcycle gang, one of the chapters, to take that chapter down, whatever they did, I don't remember. Obviously, they did bad things. This guy, for a period of time, had to make them believe. He had to show great leadership capability, commitment, etc. He became part of the leadership. He had to conduct himself in a way that there was never any suspicion he was anybody other than what he said he was, because they'd kill him. Right? Even if he wasn't a cop, just the fact that he was deceiving them in any way, shape, or form, you're dead. So he ended up helping take it down. Well, guess what? My guess is they're certainly not even, I don't even believe it could not be a reality. It is. There are people over the years, the 60 plus years since they took Kennedy out, the generals got together and they know they have to infiltrate this thing. And how do you infiltrate it? To learn everything, see who's who. That means somebody may have been sent in there and had to do some horrible shit, including killing babies or kids, to do whatever, to unearth this thing. You talk about a real soldier who would take their side. Look how many people who are undercover, deep cover agents infiltrating drug organizations, who have to shoot heroin themselves and, look like a junkie. And a lot of those people come out of there psychologically screwed up, right? Some become addicted to heroin because they had to go through this. That led to the takedown of a crime syndicate, but a drug syndicate, but there's a serious price to pay, right? And so that's like a soldier being willing to go onto a battlefield and lose his life or be horribly maimed for the rest of his life because he was doing it for the good of humanity. That possibility exists. The idea that Epstein may have been one of them. I mean, I see him having some girl spread-eagled, pegged to the ground on grass on his island, holding a magnifying glass so the sun can burn her in different spots, and she's obviously screaming or whatever. I'm thinking, that guy needs to have all of his skin removed from his body with a cheese grater over 10 hours and then bring the salt in, right? That's what my mind says. But then I say to myself, if that were true, if he were one of those guys to basically set it all up and basically be the go-to guy that all the intelligence agencies utilized to trap all the world's politicians, that's the biggest leap for me I could ever make, is that Epstein was a white hat participating to suck all these Satanists in to know who's who so they could take them out. Wow. That would be a hard one for me to swallow for a long, long, long time. But I'll give that latitude to whatever degree necessary. We just want the results. We want the results.
See, to me, I always looked at it in the sense that exactly what you said. And, you've got your CIA agents, your Mossad agents, your KGB agents, who play the roles that they have to play and do some pretty horrible things to get past it. And when you think about how deep this whole thing really, truly went, and you think about the depravity of the powers that be, because one way I've always looked at this is, people strive for money, and we've all been taught money's the root of all evil. But you make your money, then you want things. Well, you get your things. So now you've got money, you've got things, but now you're starting to get bored. So you start to look for other things.
More things.
That's right. And those things, unfortunately, lead to these sick, disgusting things where they go and they conduct hunts and they conduct rapes and, all kinds of child abuse and human abuse and human trafficking, et cetera, et cetera. And when it comes to that, if you're truly somebody who, is like the father, you'll do what you have to do to take it down. And I'm not saying that he was a good guy. He wasn't a good guy. I mean, to me, they don't come much lower than that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, how else do you lure them in? So it's an interesting aspect, but I'm not going to dwell on that part of it. But getting back to the upcoming elections, like I said, you've got gubernatorial elections in 36 states. They're not the ones making the laws of the land, but they are the ones making the laws for their states and the direction in which those states happen to go. Combined with that, you've also had a huge migration of some libtards and others who aren't, going from blue states to red states to get away from the taxing and everything else that's going on, the ridiculous governmental control that's going on in these blue states. When it comes to this change, and a lot of states trying to change the demographics of their areas for voting blocks, how do you think that these transitions and these moves, these immigrations of people from one state to another could change for the negative what happens in the upcoming elections?
Well, the blue states have a bit of a problem because a lot of their voters are leaving their states. Democrats certainly are losing the Hispanic vote and they're losing the Black vote in this country since 2016, right? Donald Trump pointed a lot of things out and everybody thought about in those demographics. And they're like, yeah, they're right. Trump's right. These people have been using us forever and delivering us nothing. So now that you have the voting bloc for the Democrats are waking up to the truth about the Democratic Party. And I'm not backing the Republican Party. They're rancid scumbag sewer dwellers just the same, because they're the ones who were supposed to protect us from any of this happening, but they don't. That's why Ayn Rand, when she came here as a screenwriter from Russia back in the 20s, 30s, became the most prominent philosopher of the 20th century, said the true evil in America aren't the liberals, it's the conservatives. Now that would shake up most conservatives. Like, what's wrong with you? Well, she was right. She says, look, the liberals will tell you to your face, if you give us power, we're going to socialize this whole country. The Republicans will look you right in the eye and say, if you give us power, we'll make sure it never happens. What have they done under complete Republican control and leadership? The 94 Republican Revolution, led by Gingrich, engineered over 20 years. For the first time in 70 years, the Republicans controlled the House and the Senate together. Why was Gingrich run out of Washington by 1998? Because he was too conservative? No, he was cutting too many deals with the Democrats. Right? George W. Bush controlled the White House. The Republicans had the Senate and the House. What did he give us? The largest spending, welfare state spending since LBJ, made LBJ look like a piker. And then 7 wars, 7 countries, 7 years, sent us into the Middle East on a premise of lies, killing, like Bush 1, killing millions of people, slaughtering innocents, not our soldiers. The soldiers were doing heroic things because they thought they were there. They were there in the defense of freedom and democracy, which I hate. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. Hate when Trump says the word. So the Bush family alone is responsible not only for the assassination of JFK. H.W. Bush was part of setting up that kill team, but the millions of people on the planet that were slaughtered by our war machine because of H.W. Bush and George Shrub Bush. The Bushes should never, anybody in that family, that bloodline, should never be allowed in a position of power in this nation. Again, they're not even Americans. They're Nazi Germans. They infiltrated here from Nazi Germany as part of a Nazi plan to get into the U.S. You have a H.W. Bush was a German sailor in his teens. Next thing you know, he's in the United States here. Now he goes in the Navy. Now he's an American sailor, right? His name is Scherf. It isn't Bush. We all know these things now, right? So given that, given the dynamic of all of this, why would we ever allow these criminals into power in this country in any way, shape, or form? Look, I used to chant, after they took down the towers, let's go. I was a war hawk, and I was a Republican apologist for anything. Guess what? I was strong enough and big enough boy to say, this is bullshit. And look deeper, there's more bullshit. Look deeper, the Republican Party is a crime syndicate just like the Democrats. These people, all of them, both parties, they're either liars, thieves, or killers, or a combination of all three or all the above. The political class in this country is comprised of liars, thieves, and killers, period. And I mean that as true as I'm sitting here. That's the fact. Prove me wrong with what's coming out now, what you've seen in our world. Prove me wrong. I'm open. I obviously changed my opinion once. That's why I walked away from Republican politics. The last time I ever worked a campaign, anything, that was my life. My life for 16 years was elective politics. And I walked away at year 16 because I figured it out. They're all liars. They're all criminals. All of them. State houses included.
Well, let's face it. The Republican Party, Democrat Party are two parties none of us are invited to.
Exactly.
And they are out there for one thing and one thing only, and that's control. But this is the point of this whole discussion, is getting people to understand and wake up and see their controllers. See the amount of control that's been exuded by these people. Understand the fact, look, you've got this, what is she now, 31, 32 years old, 32-year-old dimwit who's a bartender.
AOC.
Yeah, from an upper middle class family who goes in making $178,000 a year, and she's a multimillionaire now. How do these people, I want that investment plan. How do they manage to do that? And they are our employees.
Mm-hmm.
But people go, you have to use the phrase in good faith,
mm-hmm.
and vote for these idiots and just make themselves look like idiots. We are the absentee landlords. We are the CEOs and CFOs and COOs of this huge corporation, and we've allowed our employees to bankrupt us,
mm-hmm.
morally and financially. So we need to get people to start to think in different terms. We need to start to get people to understand not just where we are, but where we were, where we came from prior to 1913, and start to do a little bit of homework and get us beyond where we are now into hopefully a lasting future that is completely and totally different from where it was for our generation, for our parents' generation, for our grandparents' generation, and back to a semblance of normalcy and decency.
Mm-hmm.
I always point to the graphic behind me. I did this show because it's a lost art in this world, not just in this country, but respect to something that's just totally been lost. So as we try to get through to these people, and I always go back to this, that information is so easy for people to access. It's right at their fingertips. Instead of looking up, using Grok for memes and looking up jokes and other memes that are on there. Do some research and find out what's going on. We need to move forward.
Mhm.
So, another topic that's going to be big with these governors, or actually, before I get to that, when we look at some of these gubernatorial races, now I aired a show last Monday with two whistleblowers in regard to the California election. And I had the candidate that they were talking about on a couple of times. To me, when I had him on, was a respected sheriff, a constitutional sheriff. But as people come out, and I was very explicit in the fact that this was not a hit piece. And I offered them the opportunity to rebut the information that came out, but there's a lot of evil there. And people don't look into the backgrounds of their politicians.
Mm-hmm.
They just arbitrarily go with the guy that seems to please them the most, or seems to please the media the most. And especially in California's election right now, the leading candidate seems to be someone who is of the media. And while I think that people have looked at electing their officials as a contest and as a game, and they look for, that's why California had Reagan and Schwarzenegger as governors, you have to look at exactly what it is that you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in this battle and you realize how evil the media has been, why would you go to elect somebody whose background, A, is not from this country, and B, is 100% in the media?
Mm-hmm.
That's where people know you from. Opinion.
I agree. I mean, if they come up through the media, it's a 99% chance they're completely corrupted. Why would you want somebody corrupted in a position of government leadership? That makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, person probably been to the farm or the CIA, came through the training program for the media, the plants that they wanted to implant into the media, those kind of things. So even if we're wrong, we should look at all those factors and take the safest route. Absolutely not. You're from the media, which means you're connected to the CIA narrative, which has been proven through Operation Mockingbird and through Trump's presidency. The CIA puts out a narrative at 3 a.m. every morning to all the outlets. Here's the message of the day. That's why you can turn on 50 channels, have 50 blocks like Hollywood Squares, and listen to their buzz tagline of the day. They all mouth the exact same thing. This is dangerous for democracy, dangerous for democracy, danger. And they all say the same thing, right? Why would you want to even entertain somebody who was part of that? Because they lie. Look, it's kind of like this when we're trying to get tactical civics chapters staffed around the country. More than half the counties in the country now have chapters for tactical civics to bring back the constitutional county grand jury. The architects of the country, our founders, gave us this construct whereby we, the people, would keep control of them through the grand jury. We can ourselves put together a grand jury, investigate, serve out warrants, arrest, indict these people ourselves in our citizens grand jury and take care of business, because the corporations will not police themselves. They'll all protect each other. Law enforcement, courts, government, all protecting each other. So with that being said, the whole point of a message there is this isn't right versus left, Democrat versus Republican, up or down, tastes great, less filling. There are two parties. The two parties are them and us. It's them against us. Always has been. They put out a good shell game and a nice Broadway play, making our side believe they're fighting for us. Their side, their people believe their side's fighting for them. We're like, well, we can outsource it. We don't need to fight. They'll do it for us. That's not a republic. A republic, if you want freedom, you have to be engaged. And my message is, look, it doesn't matter what party they're from. They're stealing from the Democrats too, right? Democrats, they're stealing from you too. They're stealing from me. They're stealing from you. Democrats, they're lying to me. They're lying to you. Democrats, they're killing people, innocent humans. the Republicans and the power structure who are Republicans, they're killing Democrats too. They slaughtered a lot of people with their kill shot who are Republican, and they also killed the people cheering. Yes, get your shot. I got mine. Look at me. They're dead everywhere. They're killing all of us, right? When do you guys cut the bullshit and say, that's not my enemy? That's my enemy. And the Khazarian mobsters in DC, the satanic realm, Satan's lair is there with offshoot satellites in every state in the country called state houses, called governor's mansions. And they then have their satellites into counties, into cities, into police commissions. They're everywhere. It's all built as a weapon against us. Russell J. Gold, when he did what he did, captured a Title IV flag in 99. And it was respected and honored by the Navy. The Navy signed on to that flag because most people don't know that the end of the third and final bankruptcy of the United States was back in 99. Russell J. Gold and his partner for 20 years were studying this of what they did, how they orchestrated. They realized after that, there's an 18-day period, 18 days in there, that if somebody didn't do what they did, we automatically revert back to the control of the British Crown. So the Benjamin Franklin post office was vacated for 18 days. What did he do? He went in there, got the flag, legged it in with the Pentagon, got the patent on it, and it was voted on by the United Nations, accepted by 200 countries. Because when the Pentagon said, yeah, great, you have a flag, but all the land's taken up in the world. No, it's not. This isn't. This land we call it, it's not. And he proved it to them. They're like, oh my goodness, you're right. All on their paperwork, all in their system of bullshit, right? Captured it. What happened? Clinton's overseas. He gets a call. What happened? What did that mean? We have ships all over the world, in ports around the world, with no flag. Commerce can't happen, period, without a flag. No ship can go on the water without a flag. So the Navy instantly legged in with Russell J. Gold's flag, right? That's why he's saluted by generals, because they know what he did. He stopped that from happening. Now, Russell's got his own mindset on how he does things, but because of his quantum grammar system, you know, he created it. He created quantum grammar where no matter what is said today, it's the same meaning 10,000 years from now. They can't distort it. So 85 different nations had Russell J. Gold rewrite their constitutions in quantum grammar. So it means what it means right now as it will 10,000 years from now. Eliminate all the bullshit, the head fakes and all that. He told me every single one of those ambassadors admitted to him that their governments are at war with their own people. They admitted it. Our government is at war with our own people. Tell me that's not what's happening and always has been in our country. They're at war with us. Oh, I know. Even at the local level, another regulation, another increase in school taxes. I want to change a window in my house. I got to get down to this building, pay them to allow me to change a window in my house, get a permit and pay them a fee. If I build a doghouse in my backyard and I didn't know there were regulations, I can be fined. This is insanity. This is bullshit. They have captured us and they constantly make life harder for us every single day of our lives. We're trying to survive. Who's doing it? You're not doing it. I'm not. It's the criminal political class everywhere, at every level. It's a cultural mindset. I was elected. Now you do what I tell you. That's what they think. No, you were elected to kiss my ass. Every time I say shit, you say how much and what color if you want your paycheck, or we're throwing you out. That's how it really works. We tell you, ice holes, what to do. And if you don't, we get you out. How do we get them out? How we used to get them out. No court, no election. Wait 2 more years for betrayal and then they're going to steal another election. The constitutional county grand jury, part of the original construct our founders gave us, so we the people would keep control of our nation, county by county, jurisdiction by jurisdiction. We can't oversee the whole land, but we can oversee ours right here, our community. And we're going to run the show like this. And it works. And if somebody needs to go in front of a grand jury, guess what? At least this way, they at least are going in front of a jury of their peers, which is required. Nobody goes into a courtroom in front of a jury of any of their peers. They have no idea who the hell these people are. No idea. Never saw them before, never heard of them. They don't even know the culprit, right? Or the alleged. Why? Because of the system they put in place. If we go back to the system that our founders gave us, knowing full well what it meant and how it would keep us free, then you're in front of a jury of your peers in your local county. And that way, character counts. Character critically counts. Because if you're accused of something, the automatic default position is this. I've known Scott McKay my whole life. What you're saying he did, that mystifies me, because that guy's lived a life that would never, you never see that kind of behavior from him. So my prejudice is automatically set for how this person conducted his life. Now, if they show me that he really did something like this, and I've given him the weight of his good character, and I say he's guilty, guess what? He's freaking guilty. I'm sorry, Scott McKay, but I can't believe you did this. You conducted your whole life like this, and you did this over here. All the evidence right there shows it. I have to vote you're guilty, right? How many innocent people are sitting in prison today? How many because of their system? Millions, probably 1 million people in prison that are completely innocent. How many people on death row 40 years later, they find out it wasn't them? Those are travesties just because of stuff like that. Again, I'm pontificating, overly pontificating, but.
Well, no, but you're hitting on a very, very, very important point that really relates to the elections. Because when you look at this stuff and you look at the idea of tactical civics, tough to get that out when the teeth slip. Tactical civics and, jural assemblies and things like that. When you go and you try to take back what is ours and the way that things should be looked at and things should be handled, but yet you go and you run into the judicial system of the county, the state, the federal government, you're fighting an uphill battle, especially if you happen to be in a blue state, because odds are the judges are not going to recognize your authority, in spite of the fact that that is what's guaranteed in the Constitution. How does the average person fight against that?
Again, I don't know of any other way except we have to understand our responsibility as a republic, what it requires. And tactical civics was the methodology that was put together to get chapters in every county in the country. It takes 0.5% for them to feel they have enough people to then make the move to the county, the commissioner, the board of supervisors, basically pressuring them to pass an ordinance to allow the citizens' grand juries to begin again. And with the citizens' grand jury, the Constitution requires that each grand jury has the ability to call on a certified standing militia. The certified standing militia is the original architecture of law enforcement in this nation. There wasn't local or state police or whatever, FBI back then. The people were given the responsibility and the opportunity to conduct their own affairs in a community. This was the architecture they all agreed to, voted on. It's what we got, and it's what worked for the first 150 years. That's how it worked. So we've got to continue to build these numbers, and we've got to then put pressure on our county legislators, whatever you want to call them, to pass an ordinance allowing that. And when it comes to the certified standing militia that's required as a duty of a grand jury, that has to serve a warrant, make an arrest, deliver an indictment, whatever, that certified standing militia is not the 3%ers that are climbing through the woods in Yellowstone trying to kill John and Beth Dutton. Not the same thing. That's what the CIA made it out to be. Here's a militia. There's a group of people in many counties across this country who are volunteers. They're militias. What do they look like? Well, they're people who gather together. They train for certain functions. They have equipment. And when called, they meet at a centralized location, grab their equipment, and they go out and meet the danger head on to protect the community. I just described to you a volunteer fire department. That's a militia. The militia, when there's a catastrophe, what do? Send in the Marines or the National Guard. What? To hand out water, to rescue people, make sure they're fed and clothed, and help with survival. Again, same concept, military style function of a militia. If you are a certified standing militia member in your county, obviously certified means you got a magistrate patch, you qualify, you can handle a sidearm, you've proven that, you're probably in a polo shirt, pair of khaki pants, and maybe loafers, non-threatening, but you are the arm that carries out the duties of the grand jury. Were our founders stupid? No, they're the most brilliant men that ever walked the planet outside of the Native Americans who truly were connected to source and creation and God. And that's why it lasted for 150 years before they came in and started to bury it. Just like they buried our civilized history in the world, buried it everywhere, because they don't want us to know. They don't want us to know our power, whether it's here in the physical realm here, and they don't want us to know our power in the spiritual realm, because that's most dangerous to them. Unfortunately, they've got their minions to go along with it, and the minions of the political class, people in law enforcement. Not that, look, we need these people to have a civilized society. I was saying they're all bad, but they all been trained to think a certain way, and they're thinking in the way of the capture of this human species on the planet versus freeing the species and letting them be free to self-determine how we want our experience here.
It's an interesting thing, because we have gone so far afield of where we were supposed to be. And one of the things that people don't tend to realize, they love to complain about it, but they don't tend to realize is, and it's a key point in any election, cost of living. Now, everybody's expected, the president talks all the time about how prices are down, this and that and the other. And I guess in certain parts of the country where incomes are lower, et cetera, you do see a drastic reduction in the cost of living. Closer to the major cities, not so much. But that's neither here nor there compared to the real issue, which is where I don't understand that people don't see, but it becomes an issue to them. When you have immigration problems and people are bringing in all of these immigrants illegally, allowing them free food, free housing, et cetera, and you're paying for all of these judges who are going against what our legal system is supposed to be, and you're bringing in all kinds of other appointees. You have people in Congress, people in the Senate, governor's mansions. If you need to call and speak to one of your hired people, you might as well forget it, because even before you get to a human being on the phone, you're never going to get to the person that you need to speak to. And the whole thing about that is you are paying for it. These are all, and people don't look at it in that sense, these are all taxes that we are all paying to employ all of these people. I don't see any reason why your local representative can't answer their own damn phone, especially when they're not sitting in a session of Congress or the Senate. Why they can't respond to their own letters. Why they can't handle situations. Why are we paying for illegals? And they love to use the word undocumented. Okay, it's plain and simple. It is illegal. You are here illegally. You're starting off your new life, whether you're a good person or not. You're starting off your new life on the wrong side of the law. Yeah. And we are paying for it. People have to understand that one ticket item as they go and they vote. How do we get the people to recognize? How do we beat it into these, I hate to use that old phrase, but bleeding heart liberals, that this is costing you out of your pocket? I always use the phrase that, I'm a very, very charitable person, but I decide what charity I give to, not you. How do we get others to understand that?
Yeah, that's a difficult thing. It's what's going to get them to understand it is a serious ass beating in the U.S., an economic collapse, a collapse of the dollar. People aren't going to wake up in mass until they feel the pain, until they really feel it, until even the people that are very well off, all of a sudden they can't get any money out of the banks, can't go buy food. Whatever causes that period of time where people wake up, like, who did this? Like, who the hell did this? Oh, well, now that you're asking, let me explain it to you. What? And then they revolt against the entire machine, the whole central banking machine and everything they've done to continually strip us. I take issue with the fact that people that are doing well in life, they don't even think about the people that aren't. I don't mean just being a bleeding heart. Think about that. Bleeding hearts don't go out and do anything for those that are disenfranchised or underprivileged. They don't do shit. They just get in front of a camera and start mouthing off. You won't see them in a food kitchen. I mean, look at P. Diddy, this scumbag P. Diddy, who I think they got him off of RICO charges. He should be in prison for the rest of his life. He's having somebody follow him around while he's being, going through this setup to be prosecuted. He's free and he's, and he has his gangs running around filming everything he does and talk, like he's doing a documentary. Now, I guess FBI commandeered this footage and 50 Cent had it. 50 Cent did that documentary called Sean Combs, The Reckoning or something like that. You got to watch it on Netflix to see what a true piece of shit this guy really is. He goes into Harlem. He's looking for love anywhere because the world's turning against him. He goes to Harlem and he's out on the street out of his SUV in Harlem, trying to stand out in the open so people could come over and, talk to him and shower him like he's been showered forever with all this kind of attention. And some come over and talk to him, shake his hand. Video's rolling. He gets back in with his buddies and their crew. He's in the back seat of the SUV, and he's talking about how these are his people in Harlem where he came from. Ooh, I shook hands with him. I'm going to have to shower. I need some hand cream to get the, whatever he's describing. I touched them and their germs or whatever. And he's making fun of his own people. Like, oh my God, they were near me. They were breathing on me. They were touching me. And I'm thinking, my God, what a beautiful revelation for the people in Harlem, the Black people. You got one of your own who claims to be one of you. Now that his ass is on the hot seat, he walked away from you guys decades ago because he's a rich billionaire and he wanted nothing to do with you. Now he's trying to grovel for some attention and support. And then when he does get some attention and support, he walks away talking about how dirty you people are. There you go. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that people have got to become aware of, who these scumbags really are, whether they're entertainment, media, politicians, you name it. It's the realm of where they operate and who they truly are. I think the great reveal, those things are going to turn the tide. I think when we have this economic crater that's going to happen in this country, we'll come out of it. As Juan Savinoy says, America has a near-death experience. And that's what it needs to wake everybody up to say, what happened? How did this happen? Scare the life out of them. Like, oh my God, we lost our country, whatever. We kind of did, but we can fight to get it back. Are you willing to understand what happened here? Are you ready to go to war against this criminal power structure? Because we got the numbers. It's an easy fight. We outnumber these bastards by the billions. The billions. It's an easy fight, right? We just have to do what? Unite the clans, like Braveheart. Unite the clans. That's what we have to do. Anyways, my friend, I got to jump on my next show. Otherwise, I could hang out with you for a couple hours just debating.
Absolutely.
We probably take over the Western Hemisphere in the next hour if we keep going.
It's always an honor and a pleasure having you here. I want to thank you for your time. It's always great having you on. Everybody, of course, I want to thank Claudia, Kat, Kerry, and Doug, without whom we'd just be two people sitting there having a conversation. They always help to make it happen and keep you people in line. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
They are the best. And, you can always catch up with Scott, patriotstreetfighter.com. You can always catch his shows. And for all of you out there, as I always do, as I've been doing for a while now, this is very, very near and dear to my heart. And I hope it is to you as well. I know it is to Scott also.
Mhm.
Trying to save the children, do what we can. I will be closing out the show as I always do with Who Saves the Children, but you know, a $5 donation. I don't care if you don't want the song, don't, but make the $5 donation. You can do Rumble Rants or go to Starbucks or this, that, or the other. Make a $5 donation to any one of these 4 organizations that are doing nothing but helping the children. None of this goes to me. 100% is going to the organizations to do what needs to be done. Please be there and do what you can do. I want to thank Scott again for being my guest today, and we will see you again on another Respect. So all of you out there, have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll see you again next Monday on Respect. Good night, everybody.
Children are the center of our world, and we do our best to show them that we care. But evil is lurking everywhere to steal their youth, kill their souls, show them things that they should never know. We live in the craziest of times, you never know what's in another's mind. We keep them safe, protect from bad, but they just choose to make them sad and keep their evil rituals alive. Who saves the children? We do, we do. Who keeps them safe and warm and so secure? Children, we do, we do. And we'll fight to death to keep it safe for you. We'll fight for what's right with all of our might, and we won't leave one single child behind. Dawn of time, and their actions take a twisted mind. But we won't stand no more. We'll track them down for sure and make sure that they are gone forevermore. Why can't you see the crimes committed on our kids by the powers that be? How long do we wait? How many must die? How many loving parents need to cry? Who saves the children? We do, we do. Who keeps them safe and warm and so secure? We do, we do, we do. We do. Who saves the children? We do, we do. We'll fight to death to keep it safe for you. We'll fight for what's right with all of our might, and we won't leave one single child behind. Who keeps them safe and warm and so secure? We do, we do, we do. We do, we do. We do, we do. Who saves the children?